I slept 2 minutes from Barris and Holly at Brown University for 4 years. I passed the building every day. I was inside the building a few months ago, back on College Hill for my 20-year reunion, standing in rooms that still contain the fingerprints of my former life. 2 minutes, like a route my feet remember, even when my mind can't take this in. 2 minutes, like the gap between ordinary and unthinkable. That's the part people miss when they call something like this news. Sometimes the news doesn't just inform, it invades. The backdrop isn't just a backdrop, it's your life. It's the people you love. It's a version of you don't even think about anymore until a headline drags them back into the room and sits them down. And before interpretation, before arguments, before anyone tries to turn this into a stage, two people deserve to be named as people. Ella Cook. Ella Cook was from Alabama, like me. In my entire time at Brown, I met only a couple of Alabamians. So for a conservative Christian like her to be there, to lead as vice president of Brown's College Republicans, it's not a footnote. It's a quiet statement about what Brown can actually hold. Muhammad Aziz Umarzakov. Muhammad was originally from Uzbekistan. I never met anyone from Uzbekistan in my years at College Hill. He studied neuroscience, and people described him as humble and a ball of joy. Alabama and Uzbekistan in the same sentence, in the same community. Not typical on paper, but unmistakably Brown in spirit. Neither of them fits the stereotype people carry about a Brown student. And that's exactly what makes them so Brown to me. Brown does not make you identical. It makes you legible. Even your contradictions get sharper there. So may their families be held by something stronger than language. May the injured be healed in body in whatever deeper place this kind of violence bruises. May students, staff, faculty, and alumni meet this with something stronger than attention. Presence. But remember who we are. There's something I've always believed about Brown, and it's hard to explain if you've not lived it. When a Brown alum hears someone went to Brown, we Brunonians automatically assume something about them. You may be nothing like them. You may disagree with them on half of life, but you assume they're probably cool. Not trendy cool, human cool, curious, sharp, socially literate, worth hearing out. And this is part of what makes the loss so painful. Ella and Muhammad were different from each other and different from whatever stereotype people carry about a Brown student, and yet they were still unmistakably Brown. Violence will try to rename that room. It will try to turn a place of learning into a permanent headline. We have to resist that. We can memorialize what happened there without letting it rewrite what Brown is. The scar is real. We do not have to let violence rename us. For the last couple of days, I've been fine in the way people say fine when their bodies don't believe them. It doesn't feel right to work, doesn't feel right to play, doesn't feel right to rest, doesn't feel right to talk like everything is okay or normal. That's not melodrama, that's grief refusing to be ignored. Now, I just had my 20-year reunion a few months ago. One of the strangest parts of adulthood is realizing that certain places don't stay back there. They keep living forward inside you. You can change cities, build a career, start a family, and even reinvent your life. And then one day you watch a video and realize the background of the story is where you used to eat and study and argue and flirt and fail and pray and laugh and learn what kind of man you're going to be. You don't just remember the building, you remember yourself in relation to it. I was a freshman at Brown when the Twin Towers fell. I found out from my friend Rajiv down the hall. And I'll never forget how it traveled down the corridors of Keeney Quad as a sentence, and then became a silence. Brown was so far away, yet the whole university felt stunned. We were distant from the scene and still close to the rupture. People moved slower, spoke softer. It was like reality had developed a crack and nobody wanted to step on it. But that moment taught me something about Brown that I didn't have the language for at the time. This place absorbs shock together. It doesn't always agree on what anything means, but it recognizes when something is heavy. And it tries, imperfectly and stubbornly, to hold the weight without dropping each other. This weekend feels different. This time it isn't far away. It's 2 minutes from where I slept. It's also personal in another way. I've always felt like a paradox at Brown. To be clear, I'm the opposite of what you'd expect from a Brown student. Yet at the same time, exactly what you'd expect from a Brown student. I talked about the paradox in my graduation speech 20 years ago, telling the story of a kid from rural Alabama stepping onto College Hill with an accent, one that's a lot stronger than the one I have now, and a set of assumptions and a kind of faith that didn't come with the usual Ivy League packaging. I said then in that speech, for me, Brown is about challenges and changes, about speaking out for what you believe and sitting down to allow yourself to be enlightened by the perspectives of others. That line wasn't a platitude. It was a description of what Brown did to me. Brown didn't make me identical to anyone else. Brown made me legible. It sharpened my edges. It forced me to hear myself. It forced me to meet people who were nothing like me and realize that being different is not the same as being dangerous. Brown forced me to own something that still matters right now. Community without performance is a discipline. Conviction without contempt is a discipline. Curiosity without cowardice is a discipline. And that's what I mean when I say Brown is special. It's not perfect. It's not always right. But at its best, Brown asks you to be a serious person, to think, to listen, to refine, to challenge, to change, to stand for something without making yourself the center of every room. And that's why this weekend feels like more than a tragedy. Feels like violation. And the honest, emotional mix I don't want to sanitize is that I'm not just sad. I'm angry. Angry at the weakness I sense in institutions and culture. The kind of weakness that confuses soft language for strength and statements for protection, optics for outcomes. I'm angry at how quickly we can get swept into performative rituals that make us feel like we did something when we didn't actually make anyone safer. I can already feel the pull towards easier arguments, the preloaded scripts and the familiar fights. But there's a sentence that keeps returning to me, and it's not a policy statement. It's a human sentence. It's easier to argue about tools than it is to confront the human will to harm. We're not allowed that comfort anymore. Whatever you believe about laws and systems and rights and enforcement and prevention, this much should not be controversial. A community is obligated to protect the innocent. That obligation requires more than virtue signals. It requires competence. It requires boundaries. It requires consequence. It requires the courage to be unpopular if it means fewer families get the phone call no one should ever receive. Safety cannot be theater. Justice cannot be vibes. And if those lines sound harsh, I'll offer this. Harsh is burying a student. Harsh is a parent getting a call and losing the floor beneath them. Harsh is a classroom being branded by violence. That's what violence tries to steal. It tries to turn a place of learning into a place of fear. We will remember the room with reverence. It will refuse to let it teach the wrong lesson. The lesson cannot be that we retreat, become smaller, quieter, or more cynical. So here's what I want to say to the Brown community, especially the ones who feel disoriented right now. Your numbness is not a moral failure. Your rage is not a character flaw. Your grief is not weakness. Your nervous system is telling the truth. Something sacred has been harmed. Asking for help isn't fragility, it's wisdom. If you feel compelled to share about this publicly, I want to ask something of you because I care about what happens when our collective grief hits the algorithm. Share for a good reason. Share a memory that reminds what we're predicting. Share the name of a person you're checking on. Share a prayer if you pray. Share a concrete act of care. Share to be a witness of our communal resolve and to be a witness. Ella Cook, Muhammad Aziz Umurzakov, 2 names, 2 lives, 2 families altered forever. 2 minutes. A 2-minute walk to Barris and Holly on Hope Street. Brown seal says, "In Deo speramus." In God we hope. So Hope Street cannot become an irony. It has to become a charge. Hope is not what we say after the worst happens. Hope is what we defend before it happens again. To everyone who is harmed by this, whether it be physically or emotionally, I love you and I'm praying for you. Ever true.